Aside from higher prices of food and electricity, Metro Manila residents will also be dealing with higher water rates. The MWSS has approved staggered water rate hikes for both Maynilad and Manila Water starting next year. Camille Samonte with a report.
Instead of celebrating a Happy New Year, Metro Manila residents will have to tighten their belts as they usher in 2023. This as Manila Water and Maynilad are expected to hike rates in January. The rate increase was approved by the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System or MWSS, and implementation will be on a staggered basis. Manila Water will increase their rates by 8 pesos and 4 centavos per cubic meter. This means that households consuming 10 to 30 cubic meters of water every month may see their bills jump to about 193 pesos, up to 866 pesos. Meanwhile, Maynilad will implement a rate hike of 3 pesos and 29 centavos per cubic meter in January. This means that consumers could see their bills rise to around 136 pesos up to over 8,000 pesos, depending on their consumption. For Carolina, the increase in water rates would mean they have to further tighten their belts.
Dagdag sa expenses, tipid-tipid na lang.
The owner of this water refilling station meanwhile says they might be forced to raise prices too.
Magtataas din po ng presyo kasi mahal yung tubig eh.
But this car wash owner says that despite the water rate hike, they still won't be hiking the prices of their services next year due to fear of losing their patrons.
Parang wala rin, kaya hindi na tinatasan yung bayad dito. Pag dinasan, wala na kami customer.
While there are those who don't really mind the expected rise in water rates,
wala akong pagpipilian ho eh. Gagamit pa rin po.
water rate hikes though will not stop in 2023. This is just the first of a series of rate adjustments that will be implemented until 2027. For Manila Water, the 2023 increase will be followed by a 5 peso hike in 2024, 3 pesos and 25 centavos in 2025, 3 pesos in 2026, and 1 pesos and 8 centavos in 2027. Maynilad will meanwhile implement a 6 peso and 26 centavo rate hike in 2024 and a 2 peso and 12 centavo hike in 2025. If there is no new water source, rates will rise by 84 centavos in 2026 and 80 centavos in 2027. For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
To give us more details about the scheduled rate hikes, we have with us on the line Jennifer Rufo, Corporate Communications Head from Maynilad. Good evening, Ms. Rufo. Welcome to the big story.
Good evening, Rocky. Good evening, guys.
Ma'am, maybe explain to us first, how do we come up with the figures, the rate adjustments?
Okay. Every 5 years, we have to go through what we call a rate rebasing exercise. In this exercise, the MWSS Regulatory Office essentially receives a submission from the concessionaires, a business plan. This business plan details the projects that we have to do in the next 5 years in order to sustain service level enhancements. And at the same time, the amount of investment that we will need to spend to get those projects implemented. So all of these are reviewed by the regulator, and they check the projects that we propose for prudency and efficiency. The intent of the regulator really is to balance the requirement between having to spend for projects needed to improve services, and at the same time ensure that the impact on the tariff will not be too high for customers.
So it will be used for improvement of services.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
In Maynilad's case, we really have to increase the tariff already by next year because we have already deferred increases in the past 3 years out of consideration for our customers because of what happened during the pandemic. So we've agreed to defer it, but now we really have to increase the rates because of the higher input costs for producing water.
Ms. Rufo, I mean, kanina binanggit natin, this is going to be staggered or spread out over the next five years. People are still trying to focus on what's going to happen in 2023. But just to remind, there will be rate hikes in 2024, 25, 26, and then if I heard that right, if there is no new water source, baka pati sa 2027. Could we fast forward? There I mean, what about this water source? What about the new water source being developed that hopefully are online? What can we project about that?
Ganito siya, no, Robbie? Kasi every 5 years talaga, typically, one-time, big-time ang increase ng water tariff. But what we did was we agreed to stagger. That way, hindi masyado mabigat sa consumers. So in our case, in the first tranche, 2023, we agreed to just increase using via inflation adjustment line. And then the succeeding tranches are contingent on actual service level improvements. So that will be reviewed again by our regulators. On the water source, that is right. We have different projections as to the cost of the tariff, depending on the availability of a water source. This is actually the Kaliwadang project of the government. So if it appears that it will actually push through as planned, then we will have to spend for the necessary conveyance systems, the necessary treatment plants. And that's the reason why there's a different rate for a certain period of time.
Okay, maraming salamat po. That was Jennifer Rufo, Maynilad's Corporate Communications Head.